Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Barry Dwyer, and I'm a research fellow working at University College Cork in Ireland, where I lead the development and delivery of Ireland's national adaptation platform, Climate Ireland. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how Climate Ireland supports linking local authority adaptation action with national adaptation objectives. Firstly, to introduce Climate Ireland comprises three key elements. Climate Ireland provides Ireland's national online source of adaptation information at climateireland.ie. Climate Ireland also develops a wide range of in-person and online training capacity building programs for Ireland's local authorities, government departments and state agencies. And Climate Ireland also directly informs national adaptation policies, such as the National Adaptation Framework, which was published in 2018. Through this framework, Climate Ireland is identified as a key service supporting national adaptation planning and implementation. In addition, at the request of Ireland's Department of Climate Actions, Communications and Environment, Climate Ireland has led the development of sectoral and local adaptation strategy development guidelines, which have been employed by all of Ireland's key sectors and local authorities in the development of their adaptation plans as required by Ireland's National Adaptation Framework. Climate Ireland has been in development for a number of years. It initially started out as an Irish Environmental Protection Agency funded project, Ireland's Climate Information Platform. The first phase of development began in 2011 and focused on technical requirements, system design, and identifying information available to support national adaptation planning. The second phase of development began in 2013 with the focus on local authorities and understanding their requirements for adaptation planning and information to support these. The third phase of development began in 2015, where ICIP Phase 3 took a focus on government departments and state agencies to understand sectoral requirements for adaptation planning. In 2017, and through Ireland's National Adaptation Framework, Climate Ireland was put onto an operational basis to be rolled out through 2017, and in 2018, Climate Ireland became an operational resource with the remit of supporting local and sectoral adaptation planning in Ireland. A key part of the development of Climate Ireland was collaboration and partnership. So Climate Ireland has been developed on the basis of a collaborative approach to support science-based, policy-focused, best practice adaptation decision making. And we've worked with a wide range of partners in all of these fields in support of this, and to answer three key questions. What information is available to support adaptation, for example, projections, observations, etc.? What are the requirements of national policy? And how might adaptation planning be mainstreamed into these policies themselves? And this includes both climate and non-climate policy. And then thirdly, we sought to understand practice and understand how available science can be best mainstreamed into adaptation decision making. To give a brief overview of Ireland's local authorities, Ireland comprises of 31 individual local authorities. These local authorities are multi-purpose bodies and they're responsible for a wide range of services in relation to roads, traffic planning, etc. Under Ireland's National Adaptation Framework, local authorities are required to develop climate adaptation strategies. In addition, under the National Adaptation Framework and to support LAs in planning for and coordination of climate action, 4 climate action regional offices have been established. In support of local authority adaptation planning, Climate Ireland authored Local Authority Adaptation Strategy Development Guidelines. These were developed with the specific aim of supporting local authorities in developing their strategies as required by Ireland's NAF. They were developed by the Climate Ireland team at MARI, and on the basis of international best practice in adaptation decision making, there were national policy requirements, i.e. the National Adaptation Framework, and through consultation and testing. They're based around a 5-step iterative adaptation planning cycle, as you can see on the right-hand side. And a key thing is that they align to local authority decision-making processes. But the key aim of the guidelines was to address the challenges of planning for climate adaptation by local authorities. Adaptation represented a new area of planning for Ireland's local authorities, and these guidelines aimed to support them through this process. In addition, and to support the implementation of the adaptation planning guidelines, Climate Ireland developed a wide range of workshops and seminars to support local authorities in understanding the requirements of the local authority adaptation strategy development guidelines and to provide hands-on training in the implementation of these guidelines themselves. These workshops were delivered to all of Ireland's local authorities, and we would have worked with every local authority through this process. In terms of the local authority response to the National Adaptation Framework, 31 local authority adaptation strategies were prepared and published in 2019, and all of these strategies followed the Local Authority Adaptation Strategy Development Guidelines, so providing a consistency in approach. Climate Ireland is directly referred to in all of these strategies also. We also have to recognise that this was a significant effort on behalf of the local government sector. So these plans have now been published, and in terms of progress on the delivering the actual local authority climate adaptation strategies themselves, in total, through these strategies, local authorities adopted 2,451 actions, and many of these actions were related to building capacity for further adaptation action and laying a foundation for further adaptation actions in the future. So they include establishment of steering groups, mainstreaming of adaptation into plans and policies, looking at business continuity planning in terms of emergency response, and also increasing capacity for this response, looking at monitoring and review systems, so information gathering to support further assessments of climate risk, and also the delivery of flood management and alleviation actions. The key success factors were that climate action teams have now been established in all of Ireland's local authorities. Awareness of climate change impacts and adaptation has increased across the local authority sector, and adaptation is now on the political agenda and included in all of local authority corporate plans and risk registers. As mentioned previously, climate adaptation is a learning by doing process, and we have evolving climate policy and experience. The NAF requires the updating of all adaptation strategies every 5 years. So this first iteration of adaptation plans, we can see it as being a significant step forward in delivering on a climate resilience Ireland. But there is a requirement to build on this foundation for the second cycle of adaptation planning itself. To support this, Climate Ireland is putting in place a number of initiatives. So an assessment of the application of the Local Authority Adaptation Strategy Development Guidelines has been undertaken, and on this basis updated guidelines for local authorities are being developed. A wide range of training programs have been developed for a number of reasons to address awareness of climate action amongst all local authority staff. Through this year, Climate Ireland has rolled out an online training program which will be delivered to 22,000 local authority staff through 2021. We've also developing training programs to build the capacity of the local authority climate action planning teams, and we're also developing more targeted training such as bespoke training for road engineers. In addition, we're developing new tools, so semi-quantitative risk assessment tools are being developed in collaboration with the Climate Adaptation Regional Offices to support the assessment of LA assets and infrastructure. And this need was identified through the adaptation strategies. Many of the strategies and risk assessments included in these were developed on a qualitative basis, and many of the actions identified within those strategies called for more semi-quantitative risk assessment. So to conclude, the NAF and first iterations of adaptation strategies represents a really significant step forward in adaptation planning in local sectoral scales in Ireland. To deliver effective adaptation action, however, there is a requirement to build on this experience and advance the development and implementation of adaptation action. So we've now developed a foundation, we now to build on this to deliver concrete adaptation action itself. To support this, there'll need to be further collaboration and coordination across scales, both across the local authority sector and more vertically with national government. There's a requirement for increased information gathering to inform evidence-based planning, and there's a requirement for advances in risk assessment and mainstreaming. It is also essential that planning for climate change is now considered as part of overall development planning and ensuring social, economic, environmental sustainability and resilience. So on that, I would like to thank you all for your attention, and I hope you have a very informative rest of the afternoon. Thank you.